On today's episode of Watch Jaguar Go, my 2014 Jag F-Type build comes to a screeching halt. And no, it's not because the brakes work really well, it's for a far worse reason. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jaguar Go, and like I said, we are working on my 2014 Jag F-Type that I bought with, well, in a kind of an unknown state. It was abandoned, left sitting outside for over a year. We pulled that engine out of it. That engine did start and run once we put spark plugs in it, but it was drinking coolant out of the head gasket. A little bit of testing showed us that we could easily pressurize the cooling system from the cylinder, so it definitely had a bad head gasket. And to fix that, we bought a new engine. That new engine was $9,000. It came from LKQ. It also came with a 12-month parts and labor warranty. That engine is, of course, right here. And I got it here, and I started stripping it down, and we were just getting ready to do the finishing touches and start putting the thing back together with all new gaskets. That was over $500 of gaskets, $550 now. I finally got a total back. And we have even more fun stuff for the Jag engine over here. This package is a bunch of parts from RK Tech, and those parts include aluminum parts to replace some of the terrible brittle plastic parts in the engine, and everything to reseal the vacuum pump that's on the front of the engine there. That all seems well and good. The swap is progressing nicely. I can have everything changed over, drop this engine in with all the new gaskets, and we are back on the road. But no, that is not how this went at all. Unfortunately, this engine here, in the last episode, I mentioned that there was this little plug right there with an extra hole in the block and an extra plug and an extra bolt, all that good stuff right on the front of the engine. And I said, you guys tell me what that is. I think right after that, I even said, it's clearly not the cam sensors because they're right there, and it's clearly not the crank sensor because I showed it clearly in an earlier video, and I unplugged it. In this video, the crank sensor is where it always is, back on the towing ring on the back of the crank, or picking up the flywheel. This one picks up the flywheel or a towing ring attached to it. Very clearly. And instead, there were guesses in the comments like, it's a crank sensor and he doesn't know what he's doing, and after he hooks this up, it's not gonna run. And then there were some really good guesses in the comments, like I thought, like maybe timing chain guide position, or you know, something that would make sense on the front of the engine, an oil temp coming directly out of the oil pump because the oil pump is typically always in the front on every engine. All that fun stuff. There were plenty of good guesses, but one subscriber sent me an email and knew what that actually was. And what it is an electronically variable, an ECM controlled oil pump. So it can change the volume of the flow of oil between idle and high RPM or high load situations. And unfortunately, without control for this oil pump, you either have to shred the thing, and we could swap oil pumps, which means rebuilding the engine, and honestly both engines, an even bigger nightmare. I asked my friend that's a Jag Tech if we could just pop the crank pulley off, pull the cover, and maybe slide the timing gear off the pump and swap it out and slide it back in. He said, no way, the engine has to be retimed. And if it has to be retimed, it's basically just starting over. So instead, the awesome people at LKQ, because they're awesome and stand behind their engines, went and found an engine that didn't have the variable displacement oil pump, and they are shipping it. It'll be here in like 2 days, so we can go swap engines over. But first, in the last episode, obviously, like I said, I undressed this engine. We have to put this thing all the way back to the way it was when I picked it up. We got to put all the wiring back on, all the coolant hoses. Luckily, I just pulled all the clamps, and we'll bolt everything back together. The few bolts I had to take out, and this thing goes back to LKQ. That should be here tomorrow. It's been a couple days since I called them, and we will be back on the road putting all the new gaskets on the other engine that will be here shortly. So today we just have to put this thing all back together, and then we'll move on to some other projects that we can get done while we're waiting on the engine to get here. So cleaning up the shop, cleaning the smart car, and whatever else we can get done. To the time lapse, let's get this done. If there's ever a competition for speed installing or speed stripping and speed dressing Jag 3-liter engines, and even the 5-liter, I guess, I'm probably your guy. I got this back together in about 30 minutes is what it took to get all the wiring, all the tubing, and everything back on. And that's kind of playing a jigsaw game right here, because we don't actually have it in the car, so we don't have things coming from where they should on the car, which helps it all kind of just lay where it needs to go. But there you have it, a Jag 3-liter all back together, dressed up. It was actually kind of out of the cradle when I picked it up. So I'm gonna drop the front of the oil pan back in, and that should make it a lot easier to transport. We'll put a strap back over it and drop this back off to them. The next person can try on, hopefully they have an XF, and then it'll just drop right in. If they have an F-Type, they're probably out of luck. Although I have heard the later F-Types, weirdly, this is a 2014, the car is a 2014, this should have just dropped right in, but I have heard the later F-Types may have that variable displacement oil pump as well. I don't know, I don't have it. There you go, the Jag engine is all packed up. It looks like I never touched it at all, except for the new straps. I'm gonna take my strap back, don't worry. And it's time to go clean up the smart car, because it's an absolute disaster. So we're gonna wash this thing right now, see just how clean we can get it, and then I'm gonna use the new Avalon King Armor Shield Light to protect it real quick, and hopefully, since it's a light ceramic coating, it brings back some of the blacks in these plastics that are absolutely hammered up here. Let's get to it. I gave the Smart a quick wash, and now of course we've got our new Avalon King Armor Shield Light. You guys saw a preview of this on the channel before, but now it's actually out. So if you want to buy it, head on over to avalonking.com and use promo code WatchJRGO for a epic discount on it. I don't know how big it is, but there's definitely a discount, and I'm going to show you guys just how well this works. I'm basically going to use it like a quick detailer here after the wash, so we'll just spray it on. And then we'll wipe it off in a crosshatch pattern. We're using the Avalon King microfiber towels as well here. Back and forth action. Look at these plastic panels deforming, it's hilarious. And now we'll flip our rag and dry it, and that is it. That is how you apply the Armor Shield Light. And this stuff works really well. I used it on the S4. I've used it on a couple cars now, and it does bead water like crazy, just like a ceramic, but without all the actual install, because it's literally wipe on, wipe off. And it doesn't last as long as the actual ceramic, that's for sure. But if you need a quick detailer, that's really nice. This stuff rocks, and it smells really good. Of course, you guys remember they actually made this for me. It has that warning on the bottom that says, even if you own a Pontiac Aztek, from the days when we ceramic coated the Aztek. So I love this stuff, obviously, and I'm gonna do this entire car. We should be good to go. Should be all cleaned up. It already is way better than it was a few minutes ago. It was a mess. Well, for once, I'm sitting here with nothing to do with the shop except for clean the shop. So the smart car is all back together, cleaned up, and listed for sale. Hopefully that's gone like today. That'd be ideal. And it's back to cutting up metal to finish up these sections of wall here, get all this put up, and also cleaning out a bunch of scrap metal, like these old junk flanges and stuff like that, hauling them all to the iron yard to get some money out of that stuff. So I'm gonna make a run to Wichita Material Recovery, and hopefully it's a very profitable one. I think I've got a few £100, so maybe we can get like 300 bucks, 400 bucks. I can finally say I did it. I put so much metal in the back of the F-250. Yes, I know this is ridiculous, but there's so much weight back there that it squatted a little bit. It's actually the truck's level instead of sitting all high like it usually does. So I'm calling that a win. This stuff's so heavy. 4x4 steel, all of the interior metal that we ripped off here, that, I mean, all the nice stuff I have sold and other people wanted it, so I went ahead and got all the good stuff cleared out. This is the junk that's left of all of the corrugated steel. So all of that's headed out to the iron yard, all the tiny pieces of conduit, all the scrap, that's going away to Wichita Material Recovery tomorrow. And then I'm coming back and loading up another truck full of our clean aluminum and just crazy amounts of scrap. Crazy amounts of scrap, and that's really gonna clean this place up, especially when that thing's empty. That is it for today, guys. I am beat, and hopefully tomorrow, after I dump that off, I can put this engine in the back of the truck and then run back to LKQ, pick up a new Jag engine, and we will be back on the road. I do want to show you guys one more thing before we end this, these are those RKX Tech JLR coolant pipes, and they look amazing. So this is the Y that goes into the engine block, and it sits like this in the engine block if we were looking at it straight on. And then this is the piece that comes off of it. These are literally cast aluminum instead of the plastic, and they have nice O-ring seals, and they should never break. So this ends up going about like that. How good does that look? I mean, it looks supreme if you ask me. So I'll throw links to that in the description below. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjaguar.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. And I will talk to you next time. I can't believe I had to return an engine. I think this is the first time I've ever had to deal with one of these. So I guess I can say I did it. It's all packed back up. And speaking of engines, if that Jag engine isn't here tomorrow and I'm stuck waiting till Monday, I'm gonna tear down this Audi engine for you guys. I know it'll only take about an hour, but I know some people want to see what was inside the hydrolocked engine, maybe the Jag transmission that I pulled for my S-Type R. This was, of course, from my A6. So many performance, German, British. I mean, I've got tons of this stuff laying around. Even the R8 engine. I've got a clean house, and the stuff's not selling, so I think we're just gonna go ahead and do an engine teardown. And that sounds like a lot of fun. Let's get out a table and lay this thing out, see what went wrong. Probably nothing too serious, bent rods, you know the drill.